Hi, my name is Ava. I'm here to tell you about the first gold rush in North Carolina ever. But let's get started with some facts about gold rushes in general. Many people think that gold rushes are a good get-rich-quick scheme that never fails. But the reality is, gold rushes are like a fad. Short and failed. You see, it's even rare for someone to get lots of gold, while another person gets little. Most of the time, people are at places that had gold sightings. They live in poverty, poor conditions with no money to fix it, and disease. But that's at the minimum. Sometimes, to top it all off, there's absolutely no gold at all. Luckily for most miners that don't find gold, they find more success in jobs around them. Okay, now let's start talking about how the North Carolina gold rush got started. Now, there was a man named John Reed who had a son named Carson Reed who was fishing when he saw something shining in the water. He went over to it and picked it up and showed it to his friends, none of them knowing he had just picked up a 17-pound gold nugget. He thought his dad might know what it was, but unfortunately, his dad was no jeweler and didn't recognize it, so he just used it as a doorstop and put it out of his picture. But one day, he went to a jeweler and asked about it. The jeweler asked where he found it. He replied truthfully and said his son found it in a creek near their property. The jeweler said that someone ought to have heard it and they would come looking for more gold and spread it around. Reed replied that he was fine with it and he wanted to know how much the gold was worth. Unfortunately, after that was over, the jeweler himself started the Gold in the Creek rumor, and everybody rushed to North Carolina for the first North Carolinian and also the first North American gold rush. A friend of mine told me this story, so I'm going to tell you about it. Bill and Crayon were two men interested in mines and how they worked, so they took a cart to a mine that you could tour. Bill thought it might be great to go there, and so did Crayon. When they got there, the Crayon got a sudden fear of going down into the mine, but Bill encouraged him to take the ladders with him. Crayon's only words when he was down the ladder were, "Ouch, my calves," which may sound weird, but those ladders were, back then, ladders were thin poles that go straight down, unlike our ladders today that are a little bit more safer. They catch up to the tour guide, and he shows many ores to them and explains how the mine works. He tells them it's time to go, and everybody could take either the ladders or the bucket. The bucket is a sturdy bucket that carries ores up and down the mine shaft to be transported into carts to be crafted into items by jewelers, silversmiths, and many more metal professionals. Crayon said, "With all due respect to my calves, I resolved to take the bucket." But then, suddenly, really loud screeching and banging noises started, instead of just the regular clanking sounds of it going up. He shouted to a slave who was working on pulling it up, and yells at him, "Stop, I think the machinery has given way at the bottom." He pulls a signal cord and everything stops, including the noises. He sighed and fell back into the ore bucket, exhausted from the near-death experience. Bill yelled as loudly as possible, "Crayon, are you okay?" And he said, "Yes, thank goodness I am." After that day, they appreciated their beds even more than usual. Bye.